Sí.
Well, something else, water.
The water. Okay, now we have water, so we
Is
good.
it enough?
I think so.
You might want to move the names because Renee's right there and Nicholas is right there. You're Dimitri Nicholas. His name is Nicholas.
I know, everyone thinks because it's a typo.
You do realize his name is Nicholas. Uh-oh.
It's okay.
Okay. Mama. Did you too? Well, I can't get in the picture,
Where
but
we going?
I don't know.
Do you mind taking
Oh, there you
my
go.
picture
Yeah.
up there?
Yeah, sure.
Hey, I want to get in the picture.
Yeah, sure.
All right, where do you want me to sit?
I think you're gonna be over here.
Okay.
Do you want one just by yourself?
One by myself and one with.
Okay, go. Let's sit.
Big ring she got going on there. Really, Nicole?
Huh. Yeah.
It takes and
Okay, let's do one more then.
like a band shot. Yeah. Thank you.
We're set. Okay. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Chef Mike. We're going to break into a song.
Así que después de las fotos.
Muchas gracias por acompañarnos en esta conferencia que tenemos con uno de los grupos estelares que se presentan dentro del Festival Marvin. Ellos y ellas son ESG, un grupo legendario del sur del Bronx de Nueva York, una banda que comenzó por aquel entonces, pero que ha tenido sus altas, sus bajas, y de eso vamos a platicar el día de hoy con ellos. Thank you very much, guys, and welcome to Mexico City. I know this is your first time over here, so I have Leroy over here, Renee over here, Nicholas and Nicole. Welcome, guys. Thank you very much for your time. And Renee, I would like to start with you taking us back to, whatever you feels better for you. Take us back to 1978 in the South Bronx. Let us know how was it, because now if you get to go to New York, it's a very, I like to call it a very Disney-fied version of itself. It's more like an amusement park nowadays. In some places, not all of them, I know there are still some projects and some rough areas, but 1978 was just a very different beast. It was a really tough time. There was the crack epidemic, there was AIDS just raiding the big cities around the world, there was the gangs. It was a tough place to be where you grew up. So take us back to 78. What was it like before back then?
Okay, well, 78 was, it was a really rough time. And we were growing up in the projects, and again, there was a lot of gangs, there was a lot of drugs. If you wanted to survive, they started recruiting kids real early, you know, but my mom wasn't having none of that. You know, she was like, oh, no. My daughters are not gonna get involved in this. She had my older siblings, okay, who had gotten involved in drugs and things like that. So she said she was gonna rescue the younger girls. So she was a clerk, and she did everything possible. She got us instruments, you know, offer her minimal salary to keep us inside and keep us working on something positive in life. I mean, going outside of your house, I mean, the deterioration, I mean, it looked like a war zone out there. It wasn't until President Reagan came there in the 80s, they even corrected the South Bronx. So we really lived in a war zone for a number of years, and it took a lot of determination. It took, like, in my case, the support of my mother to say, hey, you can do something positive with your life. So, I mean, I was looking at positive things, but then again, every day you had to go to school, you had to walk through that wartime, land. And like you said, right now, it's like Yuppieville. It's like Disneyland. It's like, when you go to the Bronx now, it's like, oh, I recently had, last year went back to New York, and I went to the Bronx, and I didn't recognize this place. I'm like, oh, look at Yankee Stadium. Wow.
Yeah, it's not even the old Yankee Stadium. This is
No,
a
it's
new
not.
Yankee Stadium, a whole new thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
How did the rest of the band got involved, guys? Please introduce us to the band, because
okay.
this is not the original
No,
lineup.
no. This
I
is
know.
not my sisters. Okay, this is Leroy. Leroy has been playing with ESG since 1985. He originally started on bass, and now he's switched over to the drums. This is my son Nicholas, and he plays percussion. This is my daughter Nicole, and she plays bass. Okay, I'm back on the guitar again. but the thing of it is, it's like there's so many renditions of the band. We keep on going. It's a family thing, it's beautiful with family making music together. Okay, every now and then, as we mature, because the majority of my sisters are older than I. So if they're in good health conditions, they're on the road with me. If things are a little leery, then
shaky,
we change up the lineup.
Okay, so Nicole, you were born back in 82? 82, is that right? Okay,
correct.
then. So when did you realize that you wanted to follow the path
At age
of
5.
mom?
No joke, at age 5.
Can you please take the
Absolutely.
microphone? Yeah.
I knew at age 5 that I had wanted to be in the entertainment industry. Actually, and it's quite funny to me, I said to my mother, and because she had this little book of what we wanted to be when we grew up, there was only 2 things I wanted to be. Either president of the world, that wasn't obviously an occupation, or an entertainer, because entertainers make people happy. And I like making people happy. I would joke around like a comedian. I will be over dramatic, my mother would tell me, or I would just play music, because music is a universal language. And so all the countries I've been to, I might not have understood what anyone said, but with the music came together, I had a blast, and I still do have a blast
Well, we
doing it.
have dance, which is a universal language.
Oh, that too, that
dancing,
too.
that's
Oh,
what.
I can't dance.
Oh, come on,
I
but
can
you
shake
make- you-
I can shake a little bit, but I can't dance that well. I can sing, I can play a bass, but dancing is not my forte. Well, I'm not that strong a dancer.
Okay, and what made you go into ESG? Because maybe you could have gone your own route and have your own project, have your own band, whatnot. But instead of that, you decided to make another decision and go within the family business.
I actually studied nursing in the same high school my mother went to while I was growing up. And I even considered doing law, family law, but it just didn't seem right. Like I said, at an early age, think about it, a lot of people wanted to be a fireman growing up, a doctor, and then they wound up being something else, not at all what they wanted to be when they grew up. And I said to myself, this is what I wanted to be. And I was very determined to do that. So realistically, opportunity was knocking, and I jumped on it. She was like, she put a bass in my hand, and I did not know what to do. And it's funny, because the very first song I learned how to play was not any of the ESG songs. It was actually Rick James' Super Freak.
Oh,
And I actually played that
nice.
on the bass.
Okay.
And then I learned how to play from there.
And how about you, Leroy? You came to ESG back in '85. Where was your first show? What was that like about?
Goodness gracious. The first show with ESG, it probably was something like the Palladium or something like that. Yeah, Paradise Garage, because basically before I joined ESG, when they gave me the opportunity to play with them, I was playing with numerous other bands. But when I got a chance to play with ESG, I was playing in large venues.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the Paradise Garage, and it was exciting. It was a large venue, lots of audience participation. It was fantastic. I could remember it like it was yesterday.
What was the audience like at Paradise Garage, which is one of the most emblematic disco things back in New York?
Oh, goodness gracious. As Renee, she probably can give you more details. The audience over there, I guess at that particular time, hip hop was probably in its pioneering stage, and ESG was, pinnacle in launching that whole, that hip hop generation. And the audience was amazing back then. They were really into the whole bass conga combination that ESG was providing. They were crazy about the music.
Okay, cool. So let me know, Renee, what were the first instruments that you guys started playing with? Because sometimes it kind of looks funny that you're a whole band with no guitar.
Okay, well, the first actual instruments were not instruments. They were pots and pans and some oatmeal boxes. And we had a folk guitar that we were kind of plucking and beating on the back of, and yeah, that was sounding kind of good, That stool had rhythm, That pot was working. But, this was now talking to my mom to get us real instruments. So one Christmas, she came up and she got an electric guitar, she got a bass guitar, she got some tambourines, because we live in a Latin community, so you can find a lot of things like claves, cowbells, and they were inexpensive.
The congas and all that stuff.
Yeah, so, and then plus living in the Latin community, the park, at night, the guys would be out there and they would be playing percussion. They would be playing congos. And, one of the first beats I remember was like, dum, 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 ba, ba, dum, 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 you know what I mean? So they were playing the Coke bottles, the timbales, the cowbells, and I was like, wow, I was mesmerized by the simple sound, So when ESG started, we started to incorporate that into the funky thing, because I love James Brown. So the funky thing is loving James Brown. So it was like James Brown mixed with the park beat. Yeah.
And at the moment when you started doing music, did you realize that back in England there was a whole different movement of music that was also trying to make people dance through this post-punk sound that was pretty similar to what you were doing, but that was not the music that was surrounding you. Were you aware of that? What were you listening to?
No, again, James Brown was my household. My mom loved James Brown. So early Motown, that's what we listened to inside. And then, of course, like I said, the Latin music coming from the park, which was like, wow. I mean, when we could get a chance and we can creep near there, because my mom didn't want us hanging out in the park, we would get as close as we could to like, watch what they were doing. And, you wanted to imitate this, we didn't have congos at first, so we were working on pots. But, I mean, on occasion, my son has real congas, but on occasion, he'll bring out a pot. You gotta go for that real sound.
So, Nicholas, when did you realize the strong legacy that your mama and your aunts gave to us? Because, I mean, the history of ESG is amazing, and they have let us listen to some amazing songs, but when did you realize how important was that?
Oh, I realized that at a very young age, but say around 4 or 5, and seeing my mom on videos and such. And see, the thing about it was, until recently when I joined ESG, seeing her perform on stage on VHS, DVDs, and then recently the internet. She always told me there's a difference between seeing it on the video and actually being on stage and being a part of ESG. And when I first performed, which was in New York City 5 years ago at a venue called the Bowery Electric, it was an interesting experience. Interesting for the fact of, wow, seeing all these people, seeing my mom and the rest of the band. It was like, wow. And also interesting, like, what am I doing here? Like, she basically she has a history of taking her children, like, here's an instrument, here you go, work it. And I'm like, okay, all right. So, and I worked the stage as best as I can, and I remember, one thing I remember, it was winter. It was very cold, and I wore this warm sweater, and she's like, Nicholas, you don't need a sweater. The stage will be hot. I'm like, but it's colder. You don't, she's like, Okay. After 5 minutes, I was saying, I wish I took off that sweater. So
Melting away.
I adjusted, and again, I'm very honored to perform with my mother and the rest of the band. And it's been wonderful. I've been called the Dancing Chap and other crazy names throughout the years. And it's been good. I'm glad to be a part of it, as well as doing my own work as well. So, but again, ESG, number one.
And you'll see tomorrow night that Nicholas is a very exciting entertainer. He loves to work that stage. You give him a stage, he's gonna work one end to the other. So
he's the one who has the moves right now.
Oh, he moves.
Yes, I move.
He is
Watch out.
absolutely fun to watch, so get ready for that.
Okay, well, that should be a spectacle. So, your sound, the sound of the band from the very early on was pretty raw. Was a very distinctive. Was that because of a lack of abilities, or was that something conscious? Because sometimes when you don't really know how to do things, you have to figure it out by yourself, and that takes you to a different place, but it's not that you're really a great musician. You're the musician that you thought yourself to be.
Well, when we first started playing, one of the things we did was we tried to do some cover songs, okay? And, you know, me and the Rolling Stone Satisfaction wasn't working, all right? And I'm like, no. You know, tried it, but it didn't work out. And I said, you know, let's go back to my roots, man. So, you know, we went into the funk, we went into the percussion, and that worked. So, you know, slowly but surely. But see, my whole thing, especially when writing music, is James Brown would say, take it to the bridge and take it to the bridge. And when he took it to the bridge, he'd drop everything out. And then you got the drums, you got the bass, you got the funk, the meat of it. And I said, if I could take a whole song and just make it the meat, man, this would be so cool.
Just the bridge.
There you go. Let it rock. So the bridge is going, and then we started adding in those little percussionary instruments. I was like, yeah, that's working. Tambourine, yeah. You know, throw in that little clave. Oh man, we rocking that clave, okay? You know, throw in some cowbell. You know,
She makes it sound like a recipe.
Sounds amazing.
Sounds delicious.
Delightful, yeah.
and fun.
It is. Unfortunately, those instrumental beats are the ones that the hip hop world can sample. Those are the ones that become newer songs and stuff. And a lot of people listen to your music way before listening to your songs. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you resent, that this whole dance and hip hop community were taking so much from you?
Well, the thing that I resented, okay, was I didn't mind so much, you know, that they were using this, you know. But, you know, the thing of it is, they're using it and they're taking it as their own. They weren't giving no credit to you whatsoever. And, you know, I have a family to feed,
yes,
okay?
Of course.
They're feeding their family. I like to feed mine too, you know? And especially when all you're doing is using my music and you're throwing lyrics on top or you're throwing a rap on top, you know, come on, give me a piece of the pie too. I want to eat. Yeah.
I need to eat.
Exactly.
That's it. I was just watching earlier today, a video of you guys in Glastonbury. That should have been amazing, right? How are you enjoying the success after all this time, after 37 years, and getting that recognition? Because you have your ups and downs, as most of us have gone through, but to finally achieve that and get the love of the audiences, of newer audiences, how does that make you feel, guys?
Well, it's really fun and interesting. The thing that's really fun and interesting is the majority of my audience now are younger than my kids.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, wow. And they're getting into ESG. And, you know, the one thing about playing music that's simple and very primal is that it never goes out of style. Okay, it's you know, you can feel, you know, the passion and, you know, the rhythm, and, you know, that's what we really love doing. When you do something, because what was interesting over the years, I had a chance to sign with major labels, but they wanted you to do what they were doing at the time. So if it was a techno sound, they wanted you to sound techno. If it was an electro, that's not ESG. We're gonna do our own thing. So the one thing I can say, you know, over the years is we kept our sound, okay? We did not, you know, basically sell out, you know? So we kept our sound and we're still doing our thing. So it's fun. Glastonbury was really, really interesting because we were on the bill and Metallica was the headline. And I'm like, wow, ESG and Metallica? Yeah.
That sounds crazy. What's the craziest show you've been to, Leroy? Playing with ESG, what's the craziest memory that you have from stage?
From stage, I think the craziest memory that I can remember is when we played in Manhattan. I think it was Club USA, and they had like dancers in cages.
What year was that?
That must have been like 87,
Oh, wow,
88
okay.
or something like that, yeah. And they had like dancers on, you know, shark cages, inside dancing, you know, and raised up. That was definitely interesting.
Limelight was a trip too.
Oh, when did you play at Limelight?
Oh, yeah, if there was a club in New York, we played it.
Okay.
I mean, basically, that's one of the most interesting things, and you know, things that I can say about the band's legacy is we played all over the world. To think that, you know, here you are, you know, these young girls coming from the projects, and we got to go all around the world on our songs. So, I mean, everywhere from New York to Australia, to Japan, to Brazil, coming here to Mexico City. I mean, you know, London, Sweden, Norway. I've been all around the world, you know, on a song. So that's a fantastic feeling. And now, you know, sharing it with my children, you know, friends and family, as long as we can do it. It's like, sometimes I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh God, you know, I've had it. I've been traveling the world for 38 years, okay? You know, after a while, that jet lag, it weighs on your body, you know?
Well, how close is retirement? Is that something that you have already considered?
Well, I put it to you just like this. You know, every time I say I'm going to retire, here comes somebody else and they go, and I go, oh, dear God. So even if it's not us actually getting out physically performing, maybe I'm collaborating with some other artists. One of the most interesting things, I did this song, Watching, okay, and it's funny, did a collaboration with the artist Robin, but then, you know, it came down to some business issues, but I got that at home on my iPod, and that is so hot. So, you know, the world may not hear, but I got it, you know?
Cool. And what happens when you finally retire? Is the band still going to be around? Have you ever guys thought about that? Are you carrying the torch, or there's no torch without your mom?
The thing is, as well as doing my mother's music, I'm also a writer now. I've created my own book. As the old saying goes, a list of proverbs, idioms, and expressions, which, again, you can get the physical copy now, or you can get it online. But, hey, it's my first book, and I'm happy to promote it. It's, thank you. And also, besides the book, I do the ESG merchandise, such as the T-shirts, the buttons that are being worn.
Oh yeah, we have T-shirts as well.
Oh yes, you got that, and that's also available.
We have
for
merchandising for today, guys. So if you want to take one T-shirt, feel free to do that.
So
I
again,
would love to get a Festival Marvin T-shirt. I'm looking at hers and it's like so colorful and pretty. I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to get mine.
But again, I do a lot of other work besides the band, besides the merchandise. Again, of course, I'll keep my mother's legacy going, but also start a legacy of my own. And again, it makes her proud, it makes Leroy proud, it makes my sister proud. Again, I'm trying to establish myself as the way as she established herself as ESG.
Yeah.
What about you, Nicole?
Myself, would I like to keep the ESG name going? Yes, I would love to when she retires. And the fact is, you know, but that's big shoes to fill. I mean, I have read several articles. Now, we're not talking about me now in my 30s. I'm talking about way, way younger. And I'm like, good God. She's been, when it really blew my mind, when you asked me, like, how did I know? It's when I actually saw her in the movies. It was a movie called Vampire's Kiss with Nicolas Cage. And there she was performing Leroy was in the back then having it too. And I would like to keep that going. I mean, I have my own website, and it's actually in development. You can find on Instagram and Facebook. It's called daterainbow.com, or just Date Rainbow. It's the only Date Rainbow there is. And I would like to build that out for, basically, it just be comfortable in the community, so people could just, and I'm gonna be honest, it's for the LGBT community, so they can just be themselves without any reprise. But the music, that's in my heart and soul. It's my blood. She was pregnant with me. I was born to play.
Yeah.
I was born to do this. So if I can keep it going with, her approval.
We'll see
I would
about,
love
we'll
to
see
keep
about
it
that.
going.
But, the most interesting things, people ask me, I've been doing this, pushing 38 years, maybe I'll go to 40. Maybe not, we'll see. We'll let it ride.
I would
But
love to see her do this at
but
60.
No, I don't think so. But the most interesting thing is, being in books, being in movies, being, somebody recently told me that ESG is now in the Smithsonian Museum, and I'm like, wow, one day maybe Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. If not, I'll live. But, I mean, other than that, I'm having a great time. I've lived my life the way I wanted to live my life, and not a lot of people can say that, passionately, music has been my sole source of living. I mean, I had one job in my life, yeah. I worked in New York City Department of Correction State Facility. That was interesting. I never wanted to do that.
That should have been tough.
Oh, yeah. But I come from the Bronx, so we tough. So, I did that for a year, and I was like, oh, no, I'm going to make ESG work. I'm going to get out there. But, again, passionately, we love performing passionately. I still enjoy writing music, Every now and then, I'll get some, hip-hop projects or things like, hey, send me work, guys. I need to feed my children.
So you're from the Bronx, so you're tough. And back in the day, you were three girls doing music in a world that used to look down on women so often. And I don't know if you are aware of this type of situations, but there's this ongoing thing between Keisha and Dr. Luke, a musician, and a producer. And that's just a very bad situation because there is a sexual harassment issue going on. I don't want to go much into detail with that. But here in Mexico City, sexual harassment is as well an ongoing issue. Every day there's a bunch of women who are being objectified and who are mistreated by men. But I don't know if you ever saw something like that within your industry or your surroundings, but how do you react to something like that? How can a musician, or for this matter, a citizen, should react or can react against that kind of gender violence?
Okay.
Gender violence.
I was going to say, well, surely starting out in 1979, okay, yes, women were objectified and they tried to disrespect you, okay? But see, my mother was a strong role model, and she always told me, you don't let nobody disrespect you. Male, female, no. You stand up for your rights. So if I went somewhere and, I felt that we were being disrespected, I spoke up, or I walk out. I wouldn't allow it. So, and it's really, really funny in this business, okay? When a man does something, he's a strong man. He's a businessman. When a woman steps up for her rights, she becomes the big B word.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. So, for all these years, I was known as a hard
You
bitch.
can tell
Okay,
it.
I was a hard bitch. You know what? That's what they call me.
Well
Guess what?
deserved.
I don't care because I got the respect for my band. I got the respect for women. I helped other women, get into the business, okay? There's things like Lady Fest. There's things that you can support, to help other women. And anytime there's an opportunity for me to help other women in the business, in the industry, oh yeah, I do what I can. And that is, absolutely true. Somebody comes to me, Renee, whatever, they email me, and I do what I can for them. But, again, it is a hard business, but in some cases, I do believe that these women allowed themselves to be objectified, okay? You have to demand that respect from the beginning. You can't come out there and say you're gonna be a sex toy, boy toy, and then turn around and say, I want you to respect me. You're gonna have problems. It just doesn't go that way in the industry. If you want respect, demand it from the beginning. Don't falter from your, your views, and if this is how you feel. If you're gonna sell yourself as a sex toy, then hey, what are you expecting, My thing of it is, it's wrong, but you kind of allowed it, okay? The things in life, you allow. If somebody's disrespecting you, then you speak up and you do what's right and you do your thing, Don't allow people to treat you like meat or property, Be the woman that you should be,
Yeah. And no matter what anyone calls you, right?
Exactly,
Because
exactly.
sometimes you're afraid about that, about those reactions, about what
I'm not afraid of those reactions. I'm actually a little upset about the fat shaming. I have been actually fat shamed while playing the bass guitar. And the thing about it is, I'm doing my job. If it was a male, they wouldn't care. They do not care if it's a heavy man. I shouldn't be objectified because I'm a little heavier. I'm a damn good bass player. And I make people dance and I make people happy. And as a female, so what? That's what they call it, pushing for the cushion. There you go. I mean, it's a good thing. But you know what? It shouldn't matter. And people were like, oh, she's fat and everything. Why is she on stage? Because I'm doing what you can't.
Yeah.
Okay?
But what the hell does that even matter?
Apparently it does. It's like slut shaming and fat shaming, and it's just like, okay, so how does that make you feel better? In the end of the day, what have you done?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm up here doing what I got to do. What are you doing?
And now people can do that so much easier through social network.
Social media is
social media, that's just crazy.
the online bullying. It really should stop. It's kind of like when I was growing up in school and I was bullied. But you know what? My mother told me to keep my head high, and the main thing she had taught me was, you're never going to see these people again, and you're going to be somebody. So forget about them. And I did be somebody, and I've actually saw a lot of those people on social media, and they contacted me, and they're like, hey, I see you over here, and what are you doing? Nothing. Oh. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, of course.
It's a shame that women are treated like that. As far as my mother, well, again, what they call her or what they call my sister, especially with other people and men. That's why growing up, she told me basically, listen, boy, don't treat women as objects. They are human beings. Treat them with the respect that you want to be treated as.
What a man.
And I do my best. I try my best, and I think I did turn out as a very good young man, and still keep being as a good man, because we get so much disturbing stuff in life, and we cause more problems than there should be. As I've heard before, life is easy, we make it hard.
Treat people the way you want to be treated. Pretty much, it's common decency.
Exactly.
So
Play the music.
Play the music in the meantime. Are you all guys living in Atlanta right now?
Yeah, Atlanta, I lived in New York the majority of my life. Now, again, with New York being rough, okay, it was rough enough for me growing up in the projects, again, in the 70s and things like that. Then there came an era when my children, the late 80s, and again, I saw the resurgence of gangs and drugs, and I was like, oh no. So I had to relocate my children somewhere that I felt that they had a better shot. So we moved down to Atlanta, and actually I live in the outer suburbs, Madonna. It's like, yeah, I'm in suburbia now. and it's quiet, but it allowed me to give them the education. It allowed me to teach them the music, and keep that alive. And, every city has its own sound. Yes, I miss New York a lot, but in Atlanta, it's still, I feel, when I'm creating, it's like I get things from life experiences, I get things from the sounds I hear in the street, and Atlanta's a whole different ball game, but you roll with it.
I was watching this, as I was telling you, this Glastonbury video. You're wearing an Atlanta Braves jersey. What would the New York Yankees could think about that?
I love the New York Yankees. Are you kidding me? I got my jerseys and my shirt, but just, that day, that one happened to be clean.
But the Braves, come on, really?
Yeah.
How much do you like baseball?
I love baseball. I love baseball. And of course, I love my Yankees and I love my Mets. I'm New York forever. And football, the Giants. Oof, oof.
Can you love both the Yankees and the Mets at the same time? Is that a thing?
Seems possible.
Well, I love the Yankees more, but I love I just love my New York teams. It's like high love music on a sports level. I love baseball and I love football. So yeah, besides the Giants, I love the Jets, but I love the Giants more.
Yeah. Are you guys still interested into doing new music? I know you released an album a few years ago. I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yes.
But do you still think that you have another album within yourselves?
Well, yeah, matter of fact, it's going to be released in September, and it's called What More Can You Take? And this came up, this came up because not only, I still have issues with sampling, okay?
Yeah.
But besides that, now I got this rapper out there that's using ESG's name, and I'm like, seriously? We had some issues with that, and then, even recently, I had a situation with the Kia Motor Corporation where they're using my trademark, my name, without compensation.
What?
So, yeah, we're gonna get legal
That's
on that.
very recent, very, very
Things are happening, and it's like, I'm like, what more can you take from us? So, yeah, this new album expresses those feelings.
They're trying to take her hat as well.
What a history is that, right? So who makes the music within this album? How did you came to work together into the studio, and who makes what? Is there a difference between
Well, Leroy here, Leroy's multi-talented. Leroy, besides the fact of actually being basically able to play every instrument there is, he has a studio where we do some recording, and currently even Nicholas is learning to program music and things like that. So it's working with the family, working with people you love, and people who understand where you're coming from, what you're feeling, because the live instrumentation and it's really interesting because we actually recently bought some instruments that are very like Africanized and even some that have an interesting Australian sound of outback music, and I even love New Orleans zydeco music. So just all kinds of things. Throw that washboard in. See, I like going back to simple things, and that simple thing creates a sound that you wouldn't believe.
When I was younger, and this is a fun story for me, when I would be sleeping, just sleeping, out of nowhere, Nicole, what? I just thought of a new beat. Get the bass. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, I know. Just get the bass. I'm like, all right. So whenever it hits her, she'll let you know.
So this album's coming next. Then, is there a full tour cycle coming on then?
I don't know. We'll see. Again, it's working with various promoters and things to that retrospect. Believe it or not, the hardest thing is working with promoters, okay? It's like, you have the legacy, you have the music that the newer artists are borrowing from. But they'll pay them and want to give you scraps. And you're like, are you serious? My thing of it is, like I said, I don't take disrespect. I've been doing this for 38 years. Because I've been doing it for 38 years, this opened the doors for several people to do it. And the same people that you've opened the doors for rarely give you the respect and say, hey, there's very few artists that have actually came and said, hey, Renee, whatever have you. But then there's some that do come out and offer you work or offer you opening spot. But that's far and few in between.
Yeah, so you've influenced a lot of music, a lot of genres, but are you still listening to new music? Is that something that you try to do to stay up to date, keep current?
Well, I don't do it to stay up to date, but what I do love performing at festivals, because I find when you perform at festivals, you're opening up to new sounds, not only from what you do, but from all over the world, and that's what I find really, really interesting. But the one thing, when I actually am writing my own music, I don't listen to other music because, I don't want to be in any lawsuits. And they go, hey, that sounds like...
You don't want to borrow
That sounds
from no
familiar.
one else.
Yeah, so when I'm recording, I just keep what's in my head or what I'm hearing, and then after I finish that, then the festivals and the fun things. So since I've already finished, what more can you take? And it's a matter of mixing it and getting it together now. We're cool, so we can do the festivals.
Good. So, Leroy, do you usually work on more music besides ESG? What else do you do with all this talent that Renee was telling us about? If you play every single instrument that you get across?
Well, I guess it's one of those things where my dad was a well-known musician, and I take my gift that I do have a little for granted. So I really don't do that much music unless Renee has asked me, let's get together and do something, and then that's usually when I do it. But most likely, I just don't go out of my way and do music. And I guess it's probably, like I said, I probably take the natural gift and talent that I have. I don't really.
And what are the other activities that you have time for? What else do you do
Oh,
for a
well,
living?
besides,
Yeah.
for a living, well, I work for the United States Postal Service as a supervisor, delivery supervisor. So that takes up a lot of my time, dealing with, 40 employees and so forth and so on. So that takes up a majority of my time. So when I'm here with my family, it's like fun time. So, so most likely when I do play music, it's basically when I'm playing with them.
About Leroy's mom. Now, Leroy's mom, she was a singer back in the day too. Leroy's mom is so much fun, and I mean, what is your mom in her 80s, 90s?
Yes,
now?
84.
Okay,
She's sassy.
Leroy, his mother is from Venezuela, and she's very sassy. And it was so funny because we were recording this thing with this rap artist, and in the beginning, we had to do a recording part where we're laughing and making jokes about the guy because he's writing the Dear Jane letter. And, we're laughing, and his mom came in and recorded with us, and she has a heavy Venezuelan accent, and she was in there, she says, baby. And his mom, oh my God, and Leroy got me back on that because, he was like, okay. so there was a time my dad, who played the saxophone, okay? So Leroy was like, okay, I remember the thing you did with my mom. So he took and recorded my dad, who knew he was getting down on that sax. My dad is passed, so God bless him. But, oh my God, my dad would play this thing everywhere, and it was, definitely was not ESG, and it was something that,
Something else.
it's only a child can love, but yeah. Okay, so Leroy kind of, because he was like, because I told him I was going to release his mom doing her get down thing, and then she has this wonderful laugh, so she's like, and I said, oh yeah, we gotta release that. It's still there. It's in the archives.
So you were making a lot of people dance when you were starting. You were kids doing your own thing at your apartment with those instruments and the pots and stuff. But when was the first time that you went out to a club and you found out what was this dance culture like? Because you were after that into places like the Limelight and the Paradise and whatever, but when was the first time that you found yourself in a situation where you were in a nightclub? What was that like back in New York?
Okay, again, this was 1979, and we were actually doing talent contests. And what had happened was we were doing this talent contest, and we met Ed Ballman, who ran 99 Records, and he was one of the judges. So he said, they said they were looking for new music and stuff. He said, it's a bunch of crap. They were still looking for, what was out there and what was commercially happening. He said, but I like you guys so much. He said, we're having this gig, and, it was called Mechanics Hall. He said, can you be one of the opening acts? And I was like, okay. He said, there's a small fee. And yeah, it was a very small fee. And we went out there and we played, and it was so funny because this was my first time seeing a punk audience. And, I had never in my life, the spiked hair and the piercings, and I was like, whoa, coming from the Bronx, this was interesting. And we were kind of scared. And where we came from a place that was, you know, a majority of people are African American and Hispanic. Now we were thrown into an audience that was Caucasian, and it was like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? But we played the first 3 songs that we had, which was, you know, Good, Moody, and UFO, and they lost their minds. But that was it. You know, we didn't have no encore, so we had to play, you know, because they wanted us to play, so we repeated the same 3 songs again. And after that, we said, and we got to go home and work on some new stuff.
And then you did work on new stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And you signed with Factory Records.
Well, we didn't sign with Factory. See, Factory never signed with any artist. What Factory did was they gave you a place. And actually, we were opening for a band of theirs called A Certain Ratio. And that's when I met Tony Wilson, who ran Factory Records. And this was on a Wednesday. And he says to me, how would you like to do a record? And I'm like, yeah, you know, because I didn't take him as serious because we had been with 899 for over a year at this particular point in time. This was Wednesday. Saturday, we were in the recording studio with Martin Hannett. I had no idea who Martin Hannett was, okay?
Yeah.
So we're in
Yeah, you've never heard of Joy Division and all those bands, right?
No, you know, I mean, I come from the Bronx. We know James Brown. You know, we know Celia Cruz. We know, Joe Baton. What was going on in our area? Okay, well, you know. So I'm like, okay. So they said, no, this guy is, you know. And I'm like, okay. So we go in and we record with Martin Hannett. Okay, and he was so cool because, you know, they always ask me, what was it like? I was like, he was cool and he was respectful. They go, haven't you seen 24-hour party people? I go, that wasn't the man I met. The man I met, you know, we were young girls. He was very respectful to us. You know, how do you like? He let us put down, what I love is he let us put down our sound like we created it. He didn't really mess with it. You know what I'm saying? I guess he put his touch as far as mixing, but he left ESG sound like it was, and that's why that first EP with the 3 songs, you know, Good, Moody, and UFO, a classic, okay? Because he left it like it was. Over the years, except if I'm doing it myself, people try to mess with your sound, and that's horrible.
So how much of new music are we going to be listening to tomorrow that you're playing the festival, the Marvin Festival? This is your first time in Mexico City. Is it going to be more classics, more newer stuff? What can we expect from you guys?
It's a mixture of everything, okay? Of course, the classics are the classics, but of course, we got new stuff in there. We got stuff from the Closure album. We got stuff from What More Can You Take?
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
We got stuff to make you dance.
There you go.
Okay, so that's it. That's what we can expect.
Yes.
Dance
You're gonna
and-
dance.
You're gonna
You're
dance,
gonna
gonna bounce, and you might even sing along, which is always fun for me.
A couple of times, yeah, and a couple of songs. I'm sure that we can do that. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks a
Thank
lot,
you.
ESG.
Thank you.
This was lovely. Thank you very much, and I really hope to see you tomorrow night. Thank you so much. Si alguien quiere comprar playeras, hay merchandising, hay pins, hay botones también, esas cosas. So where can people buy merchandising from you guys if they feel like here right now y tomorrow y mañana
Right
también?
now.
Muchas gracias. En unos minutos más tendremos una plática acerca de manejo de bandas en Latinoamérica y las nuevas redes que están creando. A las 3:30 tenemos a Spoon, que es otro de los actos importantes del Festival Marvin. Muchas gracias y ojalá y se den una vuelta y sigan todavía con nosotros.